This is GoPowerCat.com publisher Tim Fitzgerald. Thank you for listening to this PowerCat podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode of the PowerCat podcast by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast network. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a subscriber to GoPowerCat.com. We cover the Wildcats like no one else, with our VIP customers enjoying one-of-a-kind coverage from our team of professional journalists. And sign up today for an annual subscription to GPC and grab a 30% discount on your first year. And now here's the PowerCat Podcast.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat Postgame podcast, presented by Caddyshack Golf, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the first ever PowerCat Postgame podcast. We're sponsored by Caddyshack Golf, where you can find exclusive K-State golf wear. Check out their complete collection exclusively at CaddyshackGolf.com. Caddyshack Golf, it's owned by K-Staters. I'm joined by Brian Hanley. I'm Tim Fitzgerald. Brian, I haven't told you this.
Okay.
We're going to get big boy-sized, really cool golf shirts.
All right. I need it.
That's your pay. I give you clothing. I'll give you clothing and buy you dinner when you come to town.
That will work. I'll take it.
But
I will take it.
I'm telling you what, talking about this football team isn't going to be much work. I mean, this is going to be fun if they want to play this way. 49-14, Kansas State beats Nicholls, a pretty darn good FCS team, and we know how dangerous FCS teams can be. And we look around the conference today, and we see a bunch of teams having problems with FCS teams of maybe even a lesser stature than Nicholls. But from the get-go, K-State jumped on Nicholls, scoring drives, bang, 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 interception early in the game, 28-0 before Nicholls really knows what happens, and it probably should have been 35-0 at halftime, but a touchdown was taken away. Brian Hanley, you played on really good K-State teams, 97, 98. That kind of had a feeling of those days when you would take a decent opponent to open the season and just throttle them and set a tone early on.
Absolutely. This was about as complete a first game that I can remember, to be honest. Both sides of the ball, just playing lights out. It was something to watch. It was something to behold. I was extremely, extremely impressed. It was a lot of fun.
When we talked on the pregame podcast, we talked about this offense, wanted to line up and grind on opposing offenses. And boy, did they ever grind. They ran the ball 58 times against Nicholls. Nicholls only ran 41 plays in the game. K-State ran the ball 58 times for a net of 361 yards. Of those 58 plays, Brian, only 2 were negative yardage plays for a total of -3 yards. K-State averaged 6.2 yards per carry, spread out over 4 different running backs and 3 different quarterbacks. My friend, that is good, sound football.
I mean, that is, I'm telling you, man, they just got it rolling. They got it going. They didn't stop. I mean, it was such a clean football game. You know, that's what made it great. It was such a clean football game. And we just beat them up physically. It wasn't just that we beat them up physically. We did exactly what we wanted, whenever we wanted to, which is what we needed to do. It was just a really, really refreshing, a lot of times you see with a new coach, you see a lot of penalties, you see a lot of mishandled snaps, false starts, things of that nature. There was 0 of that, which was outstanding. I was very proud of the guys. 2
penalties, no turnovers. That first quarter was a thing of beauty. K-State had the ball for 12 of the 15 minutes. They took the open kickoff, scored, got the turnover, scored, and it was off to the races. Evaluate the play of that offensive line from a guy who played it himself.
It was like they'd been playing together for 5-6 years. I mean, they looked like a professional offensive line that had been playing together, that knew everybody's moves. They knew exactly what to – I mean, it was just a thing of beauty. I mean, they were very well coached, which is – I mean, it's not that they weren't coached very well before, because they were, but they were very well coached. They were prepared. And, you know, unlike other first games of the season, we came out and ran stuff. And we just said, we're going to come out and run. We're going to run football plays. It's not that we threw everything at them, but we're going to run what we run, and we're going to run it well, and there's not going to be anything that you can do to stop it. Those offensive linemen were coming off the football, knocking guys back, which is what you want. They weren't playing finesse, trying to slide guys by. They were pushing people off the football, which is what we love to see.
Yeah, they really were. As Chris Kleiman said in the postgame press conference, you know, it's hard to evaluate offensive line play from the field. You really need to go back and look at the film and see who did what. But he said, I know this, at field level, that line of scrimmage was moving forward every snap of the ball.
Yes, it was.
It was impressive.
It was.
There are a lot of impressive stats in this game. We talk about the fact that Nicholls only ran 41 plays in the game, but that's not really what's remarkable. What's incredible is 14 of those plays were on that last scoring drive against the substitute defense. So they ran 27 plays before that, and 7 of those were on the second half opening drive, in which they scored a touchdown. So 2 scoring drives, 21 plays. The rest of the game, they ran 20 plays from the line of scrimmage. That's
unbelievable.
That's old school defense that probably is overshadowed by offense, simply because the offense really stole the day. But here is the stat of the game, and you won't find this stat in the stats sheet. The stat of the game is this. On that opening drive, it lasted 12 plays. And, yeah, it was perpetuated. It was, you know, a personal foul penalty helped K-State keep the drive alive, but then they capitalized on it. On those 12 plays, the offensive line didn't change and the quarterback didn't change. So 6 of the positions had the same guys for every snap. The other 5 positions rotated through 14 different players. They used 20 players on the opening drive, and my friend, I've never heard of that.
Never heard of it. And there was no missed assignment. There wasn't false starts. There wasn't, hey, we're calling 3 timeouts because we couldn't get the plays off. It was just a thing of beauty. It looked like these guys have been playing under this coach for 5 years, and everybody knew exactly what to do. It was great. I mean, as a K-State fan, you could not have asked for a better opening half, a better opening game. I mean, this is exactly what you wanted. Exactly what you wanted. You couldn't ask for anything more. You couldn't have dreamt of anything better than this, literally.
No, you know, you can say, hey, that second-team defense gave up that drive. Hey, they shouldn't give up the drive in the start of the second half. But, oh, my gosh, that's getting nitpicky. They missed a field goal. Yeah. That shouldn't have happened, honestly. But so It wasn't a perfect performance, but you were exactly right. You're getting awfully greedy if you're asking for more because you checked a lot of boxes. Chris,
yeah, you did.
K-Staters have to be feeling a giant sense of relief now that they've seen episode 1 of the Chris Kleiman story.
Absolutely. The one thing that I took away, you know, I kind of had some boxes and things that I wanted to get checked, and kind of what you mentioned, we checked them all. But the one thing that was at the top of my list was the quarterback play. And I don't know obviously we've had great quarterbacks, but as an opening game, I don't know that I've seen a more confident quarterback, and he looked like a totally different guy, which was outstanding. Looked like a totally different young man, came out, was accurate, ran the football well. It's not that these things that he couldn't do. It's just we didn't see him so consistent all the time. He just looked like a totally different quarterback, and kind of what we talked about at the pregame. If Skylar's going to do this is exactly how he needs to play. This is exactly what we needed him to do. Get off to a great start. He did. And if this is how he's going to play, K-State's going to be a team to be reckoned with. I'm telling you right now.
Skylar Thompson, 16 of 22, 0 interceptions, 212 yards passing, 1 touchdown, long of 38, ran the ball 3 times for 30 yards, including that one 17-yard touchdown run. You were right. He was in command from the get-go. if you want to complain about something, you could probably complain about drops from his receivers because I think he had 4 incompletions earlier in the game, and all 4 were drops, including the Dalton Schoen touchdown, which I didn't think was a drop, but then when I saw it the one last time, I'm like, that ball did move before as he was rolling out of bounds. That's when I hate replay. That's so nitpicky. I'm like, really? Yeah, but I was in awe of what Skylar did because Coach Kleiman said he was making checks, that he was reading defenses, and he understood the context of their new offense and what they wanted him to accomplish. I'm usually a guy who really believes in competition. You want 2 quarterbacks going at it because they make each other better. Or Skylar did not respond to that. And that would be easy to say, well, that's kind of a character flaw if you don't respond to that kind of competition. But I don't think it was the competition in hindsight. I think that it was the way the competition was managed. That really, really got into him and probably into Alex Delton, who started today for TCU. Free of that competition, clearly the number one, given the keys to the mansion, so to speak, by Chris Kleiman. I'm not just saying they let him run the offense. They put all their confidence in him, and he rewarded them, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And it's just what you said. It's not so much that guys are afraid of competition. It's just the way things were done to where you didn't know what was next. And sometimes it's just, hey, let me know what's going on. And if I know what's going on, I'll respond to that. And he did. So, I mean, this is his show. And he showed today that he's going to be the guy to take us. I'm not saying that he's going to play the perfect game every game, but this is about as close to perfect as it gets. And he rewarded everybody. I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him. There's a lot of K-State fans that are really excited after tonight's performance.
Yeah, it's just one game, but boy, is it a relief to have one game look like that instead of what it has of recent years. And really, that looked like an old school K-State team when Bill Snyder would come out and hop on teams and maybe call it off in the third quarter, but would get way up. How about this? 8 guys carried the ball for the Cats. 8 guys caught the ball for the Cats. 3 quarterbacks played, even though Skylar was the only one who threw. They dug into the roster quite a bit, aside from the fact that they're playing half the roster on the first drive. They really did get into a lot of guys, and they played their top 4 running backs. And this is just amazing to me. James Gilbert led the way out of the 58 carries with 18 of them, and he gained 115 yards. Welcome to K-State.
Yes.
I asked him after the game, do you feel like your decision to leave Ball State and come here everything was rewarded? And he goes, it went pretty well. I don't know what I was expecting, but that's pretty good. Tyler Burns, the 4-string guy, came in late in the game and ran 10 times for 64 yards and looked really good. Jordan Brown ran it 11 times for 49. Harry Trotter, 10 for 50. I'm telling you what, it really didn't matter who was in. The offensive line was doing a job, and the guys just had to run the ball and read their blocks. And I'm all in. Running back by committee. Call it good. I'm all for it right now.
And usually not something that works out too well, but you know what? It was a thing of beauty. If it's going to work like this every week, then we got to be all in.
Well, I think the committee works pretty well when Gilbert, Trotter, and Brown all get to see the field on the first drive, and the third guy of that group, Trotter's the one who scores the touchdown on a nice run.
Right.
The committee feels pretty good. They're all involved.
Yeah, that was – I'd never even seen that before, I'll be honest. I mean, you don't really see that in the opening drive of the first game of the year. You don't see that many guys. You don't see 3 running backs carrying the ball like that. That's just not something that happens. And it was great to see. I mean, it was exciting. It was just different. I mean, to know everything, it was just a different feel. It's just a different feel tonight.
Okay, let me get your analytical eye here. You watched an offense for the first time, at least in terms of it being the K-State offense. This was really the same offense they ran at North Dakota State. But I'm one of those guys, I can watch an offense with your personnel all day, and it doesn't mean with the team I cover, the personnel is going to be the same one. It looked like the same one.
Right.
I was very intrigued by it. They did some things offensively with motion and shifting that were subtle things that were really beautiful. point one. When they lined up the fullback as the tight end and the tight end as the fullback, and before the snap,
and then they
switched and they shifted the entire defense, and the defense didn't have time to adjust. That's simple but elegant in how they scheme that out. What all did you see from this offense that really intrigued you?
That it was just the motions. It was the way they used the different players, the different positions, different formations, kind of what you mentioned, and how they switched from formation to formation. That was very subtle, just what you said, when they switched the tight end from the fullback and they switched positions. I'm thinking, you know what, this is stuff that K-State fans have never seen before, and this is not stuff that the Big 12 hasn't seen before. This is going to be some good stuff for K-State. I liked that aspect of it. I just liked the motion, the shifting. It's just a different way of doing things that I think is going to be more exciting. It's more of, I don't know if you want to call it this age offense or whatever the case may be, but it's a different offense that people don't see every day in the Big 12. This is going to be a very, very good thing for us.
It's going to be a tough preparation. You've got 1 week to get ready for Kansas State. They do this, they do that. They may not do this. They might do something entirely different. This is going to be a nightmare for coaches.
Well, you can't. I mean, it's not professional football, so you don't have unlimited amount of time, things of that nature. You only have so much. You can only do so much. You can only prepare so much, and you can't prepare for all of it. And you know the guys are going to be doing different things week in and week out. And I think that's what fans should look forward to, is that it's going to be different. And it's going to be different from a week-to-week basis. And they kind of threw a lot of stuff out there today for a lot of teams to prepare for, and you're just not going to be able to prepare for it all. Not to mention, you might have seen it last week. We may throw some things out there that you have never seen before, and we might be running our entire offense based on that. So that's what's got me excited.
The way they manipulated defenses, run guys deep to pull linebackers or safeties out of the way, and then, Jackson Ean, his first time on the field as a Kansas State Wildcat guy, the kid's a fireplug. He's 5'10", 240 as a fullback.
Right.
And he doesn't look athletic, but he really is quite an athlete. His first snap of his career, he's wide open in the flat. I mean, he's wide open, but Skyler throws it over the top of him because he's got another guy back there that is also open. They were moving their defenders around, and honestly, that reminded me of what Bill Snyder used to do and got away from that. He would scheme teams just to manipulate you around the field to open up parts of the field for him to use.
Yeah, and they did that all night, and it was a good thing to see, to get back to, because I remember us doing those kind of things all the time. Just by formations. We weren't a team that motioned a whole lot, but we would formation you to death and get you out of position just by our formation, and we would just run the backside of that and just bury you, or just run those crossing routes underneath and just run you out. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. So it was really, really good to see us get back to that.
Let's take a quick break right now on the PowerCat Postgame Podcast, brought to you by Caddyshack Golf. This is Tim Fitzgerald and our new football analyst, Brian Hanley, and we will be right back.
Stay locked in. The PowerCat Podcast will be right back.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They're made from the rarest organic cotton and designed to get even softer over time. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee plus 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. So head to BOLLandbranch.com today. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC gig-powered studios.
We're back on the Postgame podcast. We're trying to find things to be critical of. Tim Fitzgerald, Brian Hanley. We are failing miserably right now.
Yes, we are.
The PowerCat Postgame podcast is sponsored by Caddy Shack Golf. If you are coming to town for a game, head to Golf USA on Fort Riley Boulevard for your Caddy Shack golf gear and other tailgate golf course needs. Caddy Shack Golf, owned by K-Staters. If there's one thing I'm disappointed, I'm going to take a shot at someone right now. Look, students, I know you've gotten in the habit of getting up and leaving at halftime because the first half was boring.
Right.
If you're going to have a really good football program again, and you potentially could have one, it may not be this year, but it could come, you need to stick around the whole game. I would guess a good third, if not a half, not quite half of the student body got up and left at halftime. Now, come on, guys. I know it's 28-0, but it really felt like old-time K-State football, and then that happens. I'm like, now let's just stick it out. You can make it through a 3-hour football game. But other than that... Other than that, you're right. You're right, Tim. If we're going to be the kind of program that we want to go get back to, that can't happen. Yeah, exactly. But it was really a cool atmosphere. The new entrance was kind of cool. Yep. I don't know if you were able to see it on the ESPN Plus broadcast.
It actually on TV.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think there's some things they might want to amp up in the future, but having a former player open the doors and bring out the team like Jordy Nelson did tonight, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're being having Joe Hall in that building has helped them. I think they were always going to be aware of K-State football past, if you want to say it that way. But Joe Hall has made them very aware. And let's get the old guys involved in it, and let's really tie the greatest days to this and bridge that gap. And I'm real hopeful that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, Joe has been hitting everybody up, wanting everybody to come back, get everybody involved. And, the feedback for a while – well, I shouldn't say for a while, not recently, but previously wasn't as good as what the feedback has been now. Because now it's one of us is in there. Right. One of us, not that one of us wasn't before, but one of the guys from yesteryear is in the building, is in there. And if he's in there, and we know Joe, and a lot of guys know Joe, and they trust Joe to know that, hey, you know what? This is different. Come on in, be part of it. We're all going to do this together. And that has got a lot of older guys excited.
Well, for good reason. It's only one game, but it's certainly a good foundation for Kansas State football going forward. If there's one thing I want more information on is that defense. I saw some plays tonight that kind of worried me, where they got their nose tackles bent back and they were able to run up the middle. Linebackers, I think, were out of spot once in a while. You can't do that in the Big 12. That will really gash you pretty good if
that's
that
right.
happens. So there's a lot more learning and growing, and they'll build off of this. But I'm not worried about them being overconfident. I feel like the staff has them so well grounded that they're going to be in really good shape, and Bowling Green walks into town next Saturday morning.
Yeah, I think, the one thing is the touchdown that they gave up, and I will just call it kind of what it is. It's kind of, blowout blues is what I like to call them. They got up. They were crushing them. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't do anything. So we just came out there and thought, you know what, this game is over. And to Nicholls' credit, they didn't lay down and came and took it right down our throat. And I think that woke the guys up a little bit, thinking, we got to keep playing. We got to keep going. So there's a couple of things that were a little critical. You're right. Guys are out of position out of position a little bit. But for the most part, guys were doing their job. They were flying around and they were tackling. We didn't have a ton of missed tackles, which was very, very good to see.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. They did a really good job with it, and coverage was exceptional.
Yes,
for the most part, their quarterback made some really nice throws to get some of the completions they did, which weren't a whole lot. I think he was 10 of 18, and Chase Fourcade's a good quarterback, a senior who's been around the block a little bit. He had to make some tight window throws to get it in there a few times. It struck me when they started the second half that they had run 2 plays on their opening possession, and the second play was interception. A.J. Parker just sitting down in coverage, read the quarterback and broke on the ball, was just standing there. Was mad he didn't score, but, he didn't really have a chance, I don't think. It looked like in the second half they said, we're going back to the script. We didn't get to run the opening script. Let's run our opening script and get into it a little bit. And because it looked on script there. It really looked like they had rehearsed that series of plays.
It did. It absolutely did look like that they just decided, look, we're just going to go back to this and let's just do what we're going to do. And we, again, the guys didn't respond well, but we were up, and I think they just kind of thought, what, they're going to lay down. They didn't lay down. It kind of refocused us. But those are kind of things which will get cleaned up because kind of what you said in the Big 12, everybody's going to every drive. Nobody's laying down on any possession. So we got to be ready for all of it.
And we didn't get a good glimpse of special teams either. I mean, the punting unit never stepped on the field, which is an old school problem. I remember that happening in the past where the poor punter just took the night off. But one missed field goal. The return team, look, I like Phillip Brooks. I can see that he's explosive, but I felt like he missed a couple running avenues that had opened up for him. But that remains a question mark. They were so good in every other area. Who cares that special teams was mundane for the most part? But they're going to need that, aren't they?
Absolutely. Definitely going to need it. K-State's always been a team that had special teams. Special teams has been huge. So we're going to need it all 3 phases. The field goal, like you said, being missed was, it's important. It's important. Punting unit, obviously, we didn't get to see it, kind of what you mentioned. But, for K-State to be the program that we're going to be and what we've been, we need to have top-notch special teams. Not average, not good. Our special teams need to be top-notch to get us to where we weren't trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, you're just not going to get consistently that upper echelon talent that some programs get. Even, Oklahoma and Texas, certainly in this conference, they struggle against other programs that get even better talent. But I think there's even a tier in there of, West Virginia has capability of out recruiting Kansas State because of where it sits and its reputation in the region that they're in. So Kansas State has to take every advantage possible. And what I saw from them is while special teams is an area that we still wonder about, they put their players in remarkable positions to succeed in this game. They didn't ask their players to do things beyond their means and then set the table for them to be successful. My friend, that's really good coaching.
Absolutely. I mean, because that's all you can ask for as a player is put me in a position where I'm going to succeed. You know what I do well. Allow me to go do that. And as a player, if you get that, and that's what you're able to do, that's all that you can add. That's all that you even want. And so it was a great thing to see. Great thing to see.
I'm told the post-game locker room was a fun and festive place, but it was different. The players were able to get up and speak to their teammates, and Coach Kleiman addressed the team briefly before going to do post-game radio and meeting with the media. Everything about everything today, other than the fact that the physical stadium's the same, felt different and yet oddly familiar like we had been there before. it was a very strange sensation that we've got rap music, first of all, playing over the speakers, which unheard of for the most part. But, but it still felt like, this feels like K-State football. This feels like the K-State football we cherished, as fans cherished, people cherished, and that had just slipped away, and it was a kind of a shell of itself, and it all came roaring back. Even though it's just one game, it was a fun one game.
That's good. I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, change is not always bad. Change can be good. Doesn't mean that you're disrespecting the past. Doesn't mean that you're acting like the past didn't matter or anything like that. It's just sometimes it's good to have just a fresh start, to just change some things around and get back to good K-State football. That's all anybody wants. That's all everybody wants, right. Tim, is just for us to get back to the program that we know we can be and that we should be. That's all anybody wants. So fresh start. Like you said, I know it was just one game, but you know what? Hey, that's the only game we played is one game. Might as well be happy about it.
Yep. K-State football, be tough, be efficient, don't hurt yourself. They did all those things that were kind of the hallmarks of any great team, but really certainly under Bill Snyder. One final topic before I let you go. K-State was favored by like 23.5. I proved once again why nobody should ever take betting advice from me, because I said that was just that was outlandish. Would you have bet 23.5 points and taken the Cats?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. I was geared in. I was, thinking this is going to be a 4-quarter game. I figured we'd kind of pull away late. I thought I just thought there would be miscues. I just thought, you just don't see a first-year team, a first-year coach come out with no miscues. You just don't see that, Tim. And we had that tonight. I felt like it would just be littered with false start penalties and formations not being lined up. The guys were so prepared. And again, you just have to take it back to just excellent coaching. So yeah, there's no way in the world that I would take in the Cats at plus 23. Not a chance.
I know. I'm telling you, with all the motion they have on offense, I think after their first down, they got the wrong personnel in, and that was really their lone hiccup where they had to burn a timeout. Right. And I'm like, oh, here we go. But it didn't happen again. They have so many guys moving around, personnel coming and going. They're splitting out tight ends to receivers and shifting tight ends into the backfield and throwing to fullbacks. I'm going to just love watching this offense, learning this offense, and growing accustomed and familiar with this offense, because I think it's a really cool offense.
I do too. I think it's just it's a breath of fresh air. It's a really good offense. I think it's going to fit the talent that we have, and I think it's going to be able to bring in more talent and bringing it into this offense, which is going to just take the offense to another level.
I would agree. And I also look forward to the defense being able to step center stage at some point soon. Yep. It might be at Mississippi State. Heck, it might be next week with Bowling Green. We'll see how that all plays out. But I did at the end of the night learn a lesson I've learned many times before. Las Vegas knows a lot more than I know. Because I think they knew with Chris Kleiman the product was going to be pretty good, because they knew exactly what he did at North Dakota State.
It's unbelievable, Vegas. They know everything. They just know everything.
Someone had a line on how long this podcast would last, and if you bet the under, you probably made it. Buddy, that's Brian Hanley. He's out of Frisco, Texas. He does his own great podcast called Let's Talk Ball with Big B, and he is Big B. My friend, I will talk to you next week when we do another pregame podcast. I thought that went really well, and then we will hopefully convene in daylight hours following another K-State football victory next Saturday when the Cats take on Bowling Green at 11 a.m. at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Thank you very much. Thank you much, Brian. This has been the Power Cat Postgame Podcast, brought to you by Caddy Shack Golf. We will talk to you real soon.
You've been listening to the Power Cat Postgame Podcast, presented by Caddy Shack Golf. PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.